This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Our goal with our videos is to empower you to be able to do the repairs on your own and save a whole lot of money and also get that great feeling of having fixed it by yourself.
Hey YouTubers, thanks for joining. Today we're going to figure out how to get your washer spinning again. These are the top 5 fixes you can do to get a washing machine back spinning, and it's a really common problem. As an appliance repair technician with over 30 years of experience, many of the calls I do per week are for washing machines that won't spin. And when they don't spin, it's no fun because all of a sudden, you open it up, you expect it to be ready for the dryer, but it's still sopping wet. So we're going to cover the 5 fixes that you can do that are pretty easy. Just use normal tools around your house. We'll put some links in the description below for other videos that can help you that are more specific to the 5 different fixes that we're going to talk about. But these are things you can do really easily, and it can save you a lot of money. So the first one, we come on the scene and expecting the clothes to be ready for the dryer. We open it up, either it's top loader or front loader, and we notice that the clothes are still sopping wet. And probably what happened is the machine didn't want to go to spin, maybe because there was still some water left in the tub. So if there's water left in a top loader or water left at the bottom of the front loader, those machines are designed not to go to spin if all the water didn't drain out. The reason is water is so heavy that if you start spinning really quick, especially on a front loader, they can go up to 1200 RPMs. That much speed with that much weight can just tear the machine apart. So if there's any water left, too much water left, the machine will not go to spin. And there's different reasons there might be water left, but if you open up and you find the clothes are there, you lift them out and you can see water still at the bottom, even a little bit, there's something wrong with the drain mechanism. And most often what it is there's just a clog in the area just prior to the drain motor. And usually it's really easy to correct. Sometimes it can be caused by too many suds. So if you have the wrong kind of detergent you put in, or maybe you put in accidentally way too much, it creates too many bubbles or too many suds. And on a front loading machine, the drain pumps are very sensitive to how fast the impeller is spinning. But if it's spinning and there's no resistance or very little resistance because there's not much water, it's mainly just air bubbles, that thing will spin too fast. And to protect that motor so it doesn't burn out, the computer or the controller will say, hey, let's don't spin. And all of a sudden you come on the scene and your clothes are still wet. So it could be as simple as you have too much detergent, which caused too many suds. And the way to fix that is to get all the water, all the clothes out, even though they're wet, maybe put them in a bucket. And then what you can do is just, if this video is helping you, please consider pressing down in the lower right hand corner of your screen the subscribe button, and that really helps our channel. Thanks. Tell the machine to go to spin or drain and try to get out as much water as you can. At a certain point though, it'll shut off and maybe there's still some water left. It's trying to protect itself because it's spinning too fast. If there's still water left, it's all sudsy and soapy, a lot of bubbles, you can actually pour some vinegar in and maybe just put like a cup of vinegar in. Any kind of vinegar will work. And the vinegar is designed to just break apart those bubbles. So then it becomes just a liquid again, very little air left. And now the impeller has the right amount of resistance and it can get all that water out. So it could be that simple, and that'd be one of the easiest fixes. We like to start with the most likely scenario, and usually the least expensive and easiest to fix, and that's one of the easiest ones. The other idea would be that there's some kind of an article of clothing, or maybe we didn't empty the pockets in like a penny or clothespin, or sometimes inside of a bra there's a bra wire gets loose. It can go through the drain, and the little thing that's spinning to help get rid of the water, the impeller, can get hit by that piece of metal or whatever that thing is, and it jams it. One way you know is when you set it for spin, you should hear the drain become active, right? You should be able to hear that drain spinning, but maybe you're just hearing a hum, and the hum would be that motor trying to spin, but it can't because there's something blocking the impeller. So what you could do on a front loader, it's pretty easy. Usually down in the lower left or lower right hand corner, there'll be a little square door. You can open that door, and then there's a round thing, and that round thing is a coin trap, and the coin trap's designed to trap things like coins or hairpins or bra wires or whatever it is, so that they don't end up hitting the impeller. Sometimes little socks, like when people first have a child, it's very common a baby sock will sneak past the spin basket, and it'll get sucked down in and it'll hit the impeller and just stop the impeller from spinning. So what you can do before turning the little dial on the coin trap, you try to get out as much water as you can. On most machines, nearby that round coin trap dial, there'll be like a little tube, like a little rubber tube with a stopper. And if you take out that stopper, you can drain the water out into a pan. And there's usually a lot of water, it takes a while. So be prepared when the pan fills up to put the stopper back in. Then empty that, come back and do that again and again until no more water comes out. And then still you want to have a towel with you, because when you open that dial, there'll still be a little water left. If you try to turn that dial right off the bat without first emptying it, it could be so much water that it just comes out and floods wherever you are, and it could damage your flooring. So make sure you get out as much water as you can before you take off that little dial. That dial is just taken off by turning to your left or counterclockwise. Sometimes it's on there pretty tight. You can use a pair of pliers, or you could use a crescent wrench to grab the front part of the dial. There's a rectangular piece. You can grab that and turn counterclockwise to your left. That'll spin that off. And when you have that off, a little water comes out, and you'll look in there, and there's usually like a plastic tray that you can pull out. Sometimes it's even connected to the front of the dial. Pull that out. You might find that there's something caught in there. If you don't see anything readily, what you can do is use a strong flashlight and look toward the back where that tray used to be, right directly back. And there may be at that point the little drain impeller, and you can reach in there and see if there's something caught. On some machines, instead of it being directly back, it'll be either to your left or to your right at 90 degrees from the opening. But you can't see it really well, but you can reach your finger in and you can try moving the little impeller. It'll be off to the side, and it should move. It's kind of weird though, it'll have a little bit of resistance because of the magnetism in the motor, but it should be able to move. If it can't move, there might be a hair tie that wrapped around it, or a rubber band, or something still in the way. And you could try to look in there and maybe pull that out. So that's the real easy way to get rid of a clog. On a top loader, when something has been pulled down into the drain impeller, it has a similar impeller, but it's usually powered by a belt. When that happens, depends on the model. Sometimes they're powered by an electric motor too. But it's a little harder to do because you don't have a way to easily get all that water out. I think in that circumstance, you should try first to ladle out as much water as you can from the top. Just get out all the water that you can possibly get. There's still going to be some left. The next thing you would do after unplugging it is you would remove the front panel. After you remove the front panel, you should have access to the tube that comes down from the tub into the drain. And if you can remove that tube, sometimes you'll find there's a sock stuck in there. You just pull the sock out and that'll probably do it. So the other thing that could be happening is that on some machines like top loaders, the belt that powers the pump, that makes the pump spin, may have broken or may have fallen off. This is usually on an older Maytag top loader. If you have that kind of machine, you can pull it away from the wall and lean it back 45 degrees. Make sure it's supported by something, and you'll be able to see there's usually two belts, or there's one big belt, and it may have broken or fallen off. And if it just fell off, you can put the belt back on, and that may get it draining too. If it broke, you can get those belts pretty cheap, and they're really easy to just pop back on. So another thing that could cause a problem where you don't have the drain working is if the lid lock or door lock, the thing that's supposed to lock the lid on a top loader or lock the door on a front loader from opening, may be defective. And if that's true, the machine will not progress to spin or drain. And that's because they're worried about child safety. They don't want to have a machine that's spinning really, really fast where the homeowner or a child or someone in the house can open the door and reach in, because it could just tear your hand up or rip your arm right off. It's like very powerful. So they have these devices that will keep the lid locked or the door locked from moving. And sometimes they stop working and they don't send a good signal to either the timer or the controller to let it go to the next phase, which is spin. So the machine will just sit there. And that's an easy resolve though. It's usually a very inexpensive part. On the Whirlpool top loaders, they're notorious for their lid lock breaking. And I have a video, we'll put it down in the description below, but you actually use a zip tie to kind of put it back together, and it works great. Just takes a couple minutes. So it could be the lid lock or the door lock is defective. We have another one we'll put in the description below on how you can change out really easily the door lock on most front loaders. So that's a common problem. A clogged drain, too many suds, maybe because we're using the wrong kind of detergent or too much detergent. Could be a broken lid or door switch. And the other thing that's possible, which is pretty common with LG machines, LG washers and Samsung washers, is their drain motors have a little plastic thing that spins the impeller. It's really common for that thing to get broken off of the motor shaft. So the motor will still be spinning really fast, but the thing that moves the water, the impeller, just sits there and wobbles around, and the water never gets pumped out. And the way to fix that, we'll put that in the description below, is just to replace that that drain motor. And they only cost about 25 bucks, and they're pretty easy to do. So we'll put that video down there so you can see how to do it. That's easy to do too. So that's number one. That's dealing with a machine that won't drain the water, and because it won't drain, it won't spin. The other one, next one, number two, is you have a defective door lock or lid lock. And again, those are those safety devices that are there to keep the door from being open or the lid from being open during the spin cycle. And they have little switches inside of them. And if the armature has moved, but it doesn't move enough to close the switch to tell the controller or the timer that it's closed, it won't send power to the motor during spin. Even though you're pressing all the right buttons or the timer is correct, it just won't energize it. So the motor will just be dormant and you won't get any spin. And again, the way to fix that is to replace that either lid lock or door lock, or maybe you can even repair that lid lock. It's easy to do. On Maytag top loaders, sometimes the load is too heavy and it gets unbalanced and it like shakes around forward, backwards. The whole tub moves around too much, and the machine will cut power to the motor during spin, so it won't do that anymore because it's designed to not have your machine tear itself apart from all that moving around. To fix that on the Maytag, you open up the lid, you grab the tub, and it's pretty easy. You just push it back and pull it towards you, and it pushes in and on a switch, it resets it, and then it lets power go again. And usually you have to also move things around in the spin basket so that it's more balanced, and then it'll spin better. So that's an easy resolve. But that's number two, is just replacing or fixing the lid lock or the door lock. And number three would be that maybe the belt that makes it spin goes from the motor to the pulley that then spins the spin basket. That thing might have broken or it might have fallen off. And that's very common for the Frigidaire top loaders and the Maytag top loaders. And it's really easy to check it on the Frigidaire. You have to take off the front panel and you could see that the belt fell off or broke. On the Maytag, you can lean it back against the wall, look underneath, and see if the belt has had some kind of trouble. On those machines too, after you unplug it, if you take the belt off, you should then be able to move any of the little pulleys that you see. So there might be one for the motor, a drive one that spins the spin basket, and then another little one that spins the drain. But they should all be able to move very easily, very readily. Sometimes one of those will freeze up and the belt will just burn up and you can smell it, and then it won't work. So that's something that you can check easily. And if it is a broken belt, you can easily pop a new one on. All you got to do is put your model number in a Google search with the word belt, and there'll be a lot of stores that sell it. You can have it sent to you, and a lot of videos we have on how to put those on. Really easy to do. So that's a common one. There are some machines that have what's called a motor coupler, and that's where the motor goes through a plastic and rubber piece that then goes to the transmission. And if the machine is overloaded too much, the rubber or plastic piece could break. It's designed again to protect the machine. And if that happens, the motor will spin, but it can't send that energy into the transmission to cause it to spin. So that could be something you have to fix. We'll put a link in the description below on how to do that. They're really inexpensive, and it's only for the Whirlpool top loaders. So it could be that motor coupler. Also on that same model, on the top loading Whirlpool machines, they have a clutch, and the clutch can get worn out. If the clutch gets worn out and you have a lot of weight in the spin basket, the motor will spin, transmission will try to do its thing, and that would be where you could hear it trying. You hear the motor spinning, but the spin basket never spins. Not too common, but that does happen. So the fourth thing would be true of a front loader, and that could be a defective motor controller. So on the front loaders, they have a motor, and then the motor is either connected directly to the spin basket from behind, or it's below the spin basket and has a belt. And that motor is controlled by two things. The computer or the controller at the top sends a signal down to a motor controller. The motor controller lives usually down lower in the cabinet. Typically it'd be on either the front left-hand side, or it'd be on the back right-hand side. It's just like a little circuit board about this big. And if the motor controller stops working, usually what you would notice is that when it's supposed to spin, the machine will go back and forth like it's trying to correct an unbalanced situation, but it'll never start to spin, or it'll just barely spin. A lot of different symptoms, but basically you have a flawed spin cycle. First thing I would do though with those front loaders is I would try replacing the door lock, because it's inexpensive and really easy to do. Just take you a few minutes. If that doesn't work, then it's very likely that the motor controller went out. The motor controllers can have problems when the machine gets overloaded. People often overload their machines. We don't know as consumers. They put in like a sleeping bag, or they put in a weighted blanket. That'd be terrible. Or they put in bathroom mats, and it's just this heavy thing. And the machine's trying to do it, but it gets so overloaded that it pops a little fuse inside, or one of the components inside the motor controller on the circuit board gets fried, and the power just shuts off. So those are kind of expensive. They're easy to replace. Put a video in the description below on how to do a motor controller. It's not hard, but just kind of expensive. So we hope it's not that, but that's possible, and that would be true only of the front loaders. There are some top loaders, modern top loaders, that have a motor controller too, but it's usually the front loaders. So the fifth thing, which is less likely, maybe the least likely, is that the motor itself is worn out. And the only time I really see this is on the BOSCH, the German BOSCH washing machines. They have little brushes on the motor that help send energy to help it spin. They're made out of carbon, and the friction of those being used over a long period of time causes them to get shorter and shorter. Eventually they're so short they can't send the power to the motor anymore, and they just need to be replaced. So if you have a Bosch washing machine that isn't spinning, most likely that one is just you got to replace the motor brushes. And I'll put a link in the description below on how to do that on the Bosch. There's a few other types, like Miele does that too. They have little motor brushes. There is a Frigidaire one, not many, but there's a Frigidaire motor that has the little brushes. Usually on most brands, if the motor's having trouble, you just got to replace it. But on those other ones with the brushes, it's usually just those little cheap brushes you can replace. So that's not very likely. And then the least likely thing, but could happen, is that the timer that controls the spin, or the controller, the digital controller, has having some kind of problem where it's just burned out or not working. That's very expensive and not as likely. I'd say on a top loading machine that uses a timer, that could happen, you know, maybe 8 years in, 9 years in. There's little copper contacts that keep opening and closing, and they build up carbon over time, so much so to a point that the electrons can't flow through the switch anymore, and no matter where you put the dial for spin, you don't get any spin. I would say though, the first thing I would check with a top loader where there's no spin is I would look at a broken lid lock, that it's just not locking all the way, or the little contact inside the lid lock is not working. So these things are not hard to fix. None of these things are really terminal. Even if you have to replace a motor, they're not that expensive. And the only time it would make sense to junk the machine, I think, is if, you know, it's already has other problems, like its rear bearing, if it's a front loader, is getting worn out and the spin cycle is like really loud. It may make more sense at that point to just get another machine. But usually these are really easy things to fix. They're inexpensive to fix, and they're things you can do on your own. So the good news is that we have the internet nowadays. It can help us. So if you have any questions, there's all kinds of great videos out there on how to fix these things. Our channel at Scott the Fix-It Guy, and also at Best DIY Appliance Repair, we have just a ton of videos on all kinds of washing machines on how to get them to spin. So you can use us, a lot of other great ones out there too. Feel free to contact me if you'd like at scottthefixitguy@yahoo.com. I'd be happy to help you out. You can also do a Calendly link down below to do a Zoom meeting with me, and you pay for that. It's not much, but it gives us some time together where we can do a Zoom meeting, and we can figure out what's going on with your machine. But you'll definitely be able to fix it. There's always a solution. So thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe when you get a chance. There's a little link in the corner down here below that you can click. It just takes a second, and if you become a subscriber, we can send you every week new videos on how to fix the big appliances in your home and save you a lot of money. So thanks again for watching.
And please subscribe to our channel when you get a chance, and also click the little bell notification button so we can send you weekly videos on all the different ways of fixing appliances around your home and saving you lots of money. So thanks again for watching, and please also press the like button for our video if this was helpful to you. Feel free to contact me at the email listed below, which is scottthefixitguy@yahoo.com, with any of your questions. And also, if you need to have a FaceTime meeting with me or a Zoom meeting, you can click on one of the links below in the description, and we can set up a 15-minute or 30-minute video conference where we can work on your appliance problem. So thanks again for all your support and for watching the video.